In 1996, NASA launched the NEAR mission. That's an acronym that stands for Near Earth Asteroid Rendezvous. It was part of the Faster, Better, Cheaper portfolio, and the NEAR mission had a $200 million budget, but they only spent $120 million of that, so they only spent about two-thirds of their budget. This was humanity's first attempt to intercept an asteroid with a spacecraft, basically trying to hit a bullet with a bullet. The spacecraft traveled 2 billion miles, went into orbit around the asteroid Eros, and collected 10 times more data than anyone had expected. Having achieved all their mission objectives, satisfying every single requirement, NASA decided to land the spacecraft onto the asteroid. What's remarkable is that the NEAR spacecraft was not designed to be a lander, but NASA was able to make that happen anyway, and it landed so gently, such a slow, gentle landing that it continued to collect and transmit data for another 2 weeks from 4 inches off the surface of the asteroid. An amazing accomplishment. So when we look at interviews from the program manager, one of the things he consistently says is that this was a very simple spacecraft, and he used an interesting phrase. He says, "I said no to a lot of good ideas." I love that phrase. It's insightful, it's humane, and it's just very enlightened, frankly. Saying no to good ideas does a number of good things for a project. First, it validates the goodness of the ideas. When someone would come to him and say, hey, what if we added this feature? What if we added this function? What if the spacecraft did this thing? He was able to say, that's a good idea, but I'm going to have to say no. Why would he say no to these good ideas? Well, these good ideas would increase the cost, the weight, and the complexity of the spacecraft. It would slow down the development. It would make testing take longer. They might miss their launch window. But the other reason he was able to say no to these good ideas is that NEAR was part of a larger portfolio of projects. So any functions, any features, any advanced new technologies and systems that did not get included in this one could be saved and rolled over into some other project within the larger portfolio. By having a restrained approach, by saying no to good ideas, while still recognizing that they are good ideas, he was able to finish his mission with just two-thirds of the budget, so he was a third under budget. He was able to achieve all his objectives and more, again, collecting 10 times more data than envisioned, and landed on the asteroid. So imagine if they had designed NEAR to be a lander, to have that landing functionality. That would have cost more, it would have taken longer, it would have been heavier, there would have been more failure modes or potential failure modes, more things to test, more things that could break. They might have not succeeded. But he got the function in the absence of the mechanism. And again, that's a very consistent pattern when you look at simple technologies. They tend to do more than they're designed to do. So the key lesson here, the key question for us all to take away is to ask the question, what if we do a little bit less? Notice that's a question, that's not a prescription. What if we do a little bit less? Sometimes the answer to that question is bad things would happen, so don't do less. But sometimes by doing a little bit less, we can be a lot faster, a lot cheaper, a lot simpler, a lot more reliable, and still achieve all the objectives and then some that we're going for. An important question I highly recommend making a habit, a discipline of asking it. What if we do a little bit less?